Welcome everyone back to weekly weather updates, and in today's video we're going to have a look at the latest from the live radar, run for the UKV, have a look at the precipitation and the temperature over the next 5 days, and then we'll have a look at the longer range, look at the GFS, GM, Eastern OF and the ensembles. It's been a very cold start to the week, potentially some frosty weather around, quite a cold wind chill out there, but by the end of the week we could be ending in quite an unsettled and stormy note with westerly winds pushing back in, some big heavy bouts of rain and some gusty winds, maybe 60-70 mile per hour gusts could be seen later this week. Not too uncommon for the autumn, but is a bit of a change to what we have had recently, where things have been, yes, showery, generally unsettled, but not particularly stormy at all. We could be seeing that towards the end of the week, and as I alluded to in yesterday's video, there's the potential we could see even a named storm. Again, the models keep changing exactly the positioning of the low pressure systems, the exact intensities, which will decide whether we do see a named storm or not, but the general theme is continuing for a very unsettled, potentially stormy end to this week, into the weekend and start of next week. So, do remember, if you enjoy my videos, make sure you like and subscribe. And remember to follow me on Twitter as well, the link's in the description. So to start on the live radar, you can see we've got quite a few showers around at the moment. Now I'm recording this in sort of the mid-morning, around 9-10 a.m. So a few hours earlier than you're going to view this. And this weather front that is spreading through southern England at the moment, heading off into the channel, that will clear, and we'll just be left with these showers pushing in to northern, northwestern and northeastern coastal areas with this direct northerly wind. We could see a few specks of snow over the high ground of Scotland, but most of this rain, most of this precipitation will be falling as rain to lower lying areas. Some of these showers could be quite intense, but you can see most of them are sort of moderate greens to lighter greens, so moderate to light intensity, so it shouldn't be too bad. Further inland you're more likely to stay away, so it's going to feel cold, potentially showery along the coastal areas, and you can see the cold front has swept through, so all areas are now into the colder air mass, with of course north being in the coldest air mass at this stage. If you do put those temperatures on, you can see a lot of yellows and blues. Yes, we are early in the day, but I'm not expecting these temperatures to rise all too much. You can see a lot of blues and yellows here, and even some lighter blues in Scotland, which indicates temperatures close to freezing, or even mid to low single digits. So yeah, real cold conditions arriving at the moment and lasting perhaps a few days before things start to rise a little bit before the end of the week, but then all this stormy weather does start to push in. So if we go to the UKV and have a look at the precipitation and the temperature over the next 5 days, we do push to this afternoon at 3 p.m. You can see a lot of moderate showers around, nothing too high in terms of intensity, but there could still be some heavy bursts of rain within some of these showers, and there could be a bit of snow over the higher ground in Scotland. But elsewhere, inland, it shouldn't be too bad. Should be some cloud around, but it will feel pretty chilly out there. As I said, with that stronger wind gust, we can have a feel-like temperature of a couple of degrees below the actual temperature quite widely today. Over the course of this evening, we do see those showers continue, but they start to die out further inland overnight, and that can allow temperatures to drop even further. We do see quite a few showers pushing into the northwest, towards the Liverpool area, North Wales. Again, it could be quite miserable there at times today into the evening. Overnight, we do still see a few showers here or there, especially the northwest and northern parts of England, but it is elsewhere drier and those temperatures will fall. Now, tomorrow afternoon, you can see a weather front trying to push in from the west. This will be milder air trying to push in against the colder air. But we are hanging on to the cold air at least for most of the British Isles through Tuesday afternoon. Still a very cold feel, and through Tuesday evening, the weather front tries to push in, but cold air holds on. Yes, it will be slowly getting moderately milder, but we are still in a relatively cold air mass, and by Wednesday you can see some heavier precipitation pushing into the north and the east, potentially with a little central low spiraling around the mother low, which is now well out into the North Sea. Beyond that, as we head into Friday, you can see things die down a little bit and watch this massive wall of rain pushing into the west. That is the weather front associated with those big low pressure systems that could be pushing in from the west later this week. This is sort of the weather front for the mother low, where we see the initial collision of air masses. So this won't be the strongest winds within this, but it will be most likely the heaviest rain, and that pushes through and we go to a very strong westerly flow. Again, you get those wind gusts, and when that weather front moves through, you can see 50, 60, 70 mile per hour wind gusts, slightly lower behind it, but the mother low is just off screen to the north and the west. We can see small lows wrapping around it, and that's where we can see even stronger gusts. So yeah, I have to see what happens with that. But you can see it's because of the 850 HPA temperatures. Initially it's very chilly through Monday and Tuesday, perhaps even into Wednesday as well, for that weather front pushes in from the west with a big wedge of milder air, which does give us that heavy precipitation. Now, if you look at those max temperatures, you can see this afternoon temperatures rising hardly above 15 degrees, mostly 10 to around 13 or 14. As we head through to Tuesday, you can see overnight temperatures dropping towards mid to maybe even low single digits in some areas, and by the afternoon, we see those temperatures potentially rise again up towards the 14, 15, maybe 16 degree range in the far southwest, where we are starting to push milder air in. But across the east, maybe only 10 or 11 degrees, feeling colder in the wind. So real chilly day again tomorrow. And as we head through Tuesday evening into Wednesday, again temperatures dropping to around the mid to maybe high single digits quite widely, and by Wednesday afternoon slightly higher, 14, 15, maybe 16 degrees more widely, but still those temperatures are not too great, and again will feel cold. And by Thursday morning, early hours, you can see still chilly night, mid to high single digits, maybe low single digits in a few spots, but again warming up slightly more in the day, 16, 17 degrees, but under heavier precipitation, only 12 or 13. And actually by Friday, you can see those temperatures potentially rising 16, 17 in a few areas, but with more heavy showers and precipitation, holding those temperatures down once again in around that 8 or 9 degree range. So yeah, looking like a chilly week coming. Even when we see those westerly winds pushing back in with milder air masses, those temperatures will not recover all too much. Maybe 16, 17 degrees in a few spots, but widely, I suspect still down towards the mid to low teens. So if we do now have a look at the GFS, see what that's showing over the next couple of weeks. Again, you can see the northerly wind at the moment. It does collapse down, and we see these lows spiral in for lows pushing rapidly through Thursday and Friday. These big low pressure systems, the mother low out to our north, forming potentially little low pressure systems around it. And you can see after those low pressure systems move through, we see a brief bump of higher pressure potentially next week, but more low pressure looks likely to try and push in. Again, a bit of a battleground between high pressure to our south and east and low pressure to the north and the west. Again, into the longer range, we continually see big low pressure systems push in, muscle their way in from the west, and it's likely to see another battleground situation between some days of slightly warmer, drier conditions, but then also days of very unsettled, stormy, cooler conditions in from the west as well. So if we go over to the GEM and see how that does compare over the next 10 days, again, a northerly wind pushing in at the moment. Again, a westerly flow pushing in, and big low pressure systems potentially early next weekend. Carry along the jet stream, really spinning up. Could be quite a problem there with some very strong gusty winds. And at day 10, we again see that higher pressure trying to push in. But again, trying to be pushed away by these lows that are gathering strength in the Atlantic. Again, very difficult to say exactly what will happen with this, but the most likely scenario is the south is slightly drier and warmer. You can see those upper air temperatures. We are starting to drag up some warmish air, but again, all depends on surfing conditions. If we've got thicker cloud and drizzle, it won't feel all too warm. But also in the north, it would be slightly cooler, more unsettled with those colder air masses and weather fronts trying to push in as well. So again, all eyes on what happens with the jet stream, where it positions and where these low pressures go. Now, if we do have a look at the ECMWF, again, a northerly flow pushing in at the moment. We do see a generally westerly flow, big low pressure systems later this week, and then again more low pressure system carried along the jet. And actually at day 10 we see a bit of high pressure blocking up towards Scandinavia, Greenland, which is very interesting. We see a bit of a northeasterly flow that would be starting to try and push in colder air masses. We can still see though generally we're in a westerly flow with low pressure trying to push through. So all three runs today, all showing the cold northerly wind at the moment. Stormier, more unsettled weather, coming around Thursday, Friday, lasting all the way probably to around Monday, and then towards the day 10 period, potentially higher pressure trying to push in from the south. But how successful it is, where it pushes the jet stream, is still yet to be determined. Whether it amplifies the jet stream, it could actually create even stormier conditions for the area where the jet stream does drop southwards again. But if it keeps it, or just generally shifts it further northwards, it actually could turn us slightly drier into October. But it's just something we need to keep an eye on at this stage. For the time being, the next 7 days looks fairly unsettled, and we'll keep updated on the longer range over the next few days. If you finish, have a look at the ensembles. You can see on the GFS today we are colder than average over the next 4 or 5 days. Big precipitation for the 1st of October, and that's with that big weather front pushing through on Thursday and Friday. And then generally temperatures are around or above average for the foreseeable future. Precipitation does drop around that 5th, 6th of October mark, and that's when we see some higher pressure building in. But precipitation still is there though, so still quite a few ensemble members producing westerly unsettled winds. But yeah, looks generally unsettled in sort of the short to mid-range, with upper air temperatures colder than average at the moment, but pushing to around average towards the end of this week into next week. And you can see on this key level pressure, a big drop in pressure around the 1st, 2nd of October before it starts to rise around the 3rd or 4th, so in around 7-8 days time. So it's next Tuesday, Wednesday time potentially, we see that rise in pressure. But again, all depends on the positioning of the jet to decide what is going to happen with that. If you look at the ECMWF ensembles, again, haven't fully loaded as I'm recording this, but you can see generally below average over the next few days, and then rising towards average towards the end of this week with big precipitation spikes around the 1st, 2nd of October. And again, if we have a look at the midnight run from yesterday, you can again see a very similar trend. Still some precipitation around average or above average temperatures in the longer term, but there will be some drier weather, there'll be some colder and wetter weather within these ensemble members. Again, we just have to see what happens. But as I said, the next 7 days, it looks likely to be generally below average in terms of temperatures, at least for the start. Precipitation picking up through this week, turning very heavy towards the end of the week with gusty, potentially stormy conditions as well. So yeah, looks quite a wild end to the week, so make sure you do keep up to date with the forecast. There could be some weather warnings around with this as well. So anyway, thanks for watching, hope you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you again for another video soon.